the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome one, welcome all to RaceSpotTV for the next round of the Precision Racing League's GTP, LMP2 and GT3 series. We are in virtual Italy at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza for this next round of the championship, what has proved to be one of the more controversial series in PRL's 2025 Season 1. Bringing it to you live here is myself, Reese Gardner, with Lorenzo Bonda alongside me in the commentary box. Hugo Luis is behind the scenes, pressing all the buttons and bringing you these beautiful live pictures. Well, Lorenzo, I'm looking forward to this round. It is a very fast track here, and we are officially at the halfway point of the season once we complete this round.
Yeah, not only that, but I think we're going to a track that has very similarities with Monza, right? With Road America. Fuel saving, very fast track, of course. The difference being the tire difference. This doesn't waste too much rubber like Road America does, but the draft is going to be key nevertheless in the GTPs and LMP2s and GT3s if you really want to survive and stay ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the drivers will be preparing well for Long Beach next round as well as we check out the GTP driver standings. Brandon Wilson on top still with Timothy Larson taking second place here with Nathan Ray not too far behind. That is your top three in GTP. Stephen Finch and Darian Roy only separated by 2 points. Wilson continuing to lead this championship after an absolutely stellar run this season. In the GTP team standings, we've got Aerokinetics and Nightblind Racing. Brandon Wilson a part of that squad and making sure that they are fully on top of the standings, many points ahead of Solpec Precision Racing GTP. It's looking closer between Eclipse Racing and Tachyon Simsport for 4th place. Aside from that, we have Blue Chip Racing, GTP, and GFBZ Racing rounding out the top 10 of our GTP teams. In the LMP2 class, Alex Caruso continues to lead the championship. Didn't quite have the round that he wanted at Road America last round, but he has plenty of fantastic drives under his belt already this season, and he is rightfully on top in what is turning out to be quite a close championship. Sam Shreves, Justin Barrera, and Kurt Goodson, they've all been trying to get onto those podium places, and they're not separated by much. You can throw Henneman and Bergquist in there as well. Lovely battle for second. In the team standings for LMP2, Hyperion Racing 3 is on top. Crikey Esports in second, and Hyperion bookending the podium places there. They are equal on points with SRTE LMP2. Look for those standings to potentially change. In which team's favor, though, we'll have to find out. Let's move to GT3 finally. On top, Derek Heiberger, but Luke Wallace has had a run of good results here in the middle part of the season. Heiberger taking the win in the first round, but there's only 2 points separating those two teammates there at the front. Tony Costello in third place, equal on points with Jeff Kaufhold, who won the GT3 class at Road America last week, and Adam Ostrich equal as well. Matthew Wyckoff only another single point behind. GT3 is mighty close, either for the lead or for third place. Let's see who comes out on top. coming out of Monza. In the team standings, Hyperion Racing GT3 remains on top. They did not have a result to speak of at Road America, which is rare for them. They have been on the podium and winning all season so far, aside from that last round, but they're still on top, ahead of Valhalla Motorsports GT3, who, with a double podium last round at Road America, have managed to grab a fantastic haul of points there and elevate themselves into a proper challenge for the championship lead coming into the second half of the season. Still close between Vice Motorsport and Hyperion Racing 2 as well. But before we get into the racing action tonight, we have to thank our series sponsors. Logitech G wheels and pedals are equipped with True Force feedback to help you feel the road and own the race. Use code PRECISION at checkout on logitechg.com for 5 to 10% off your purchase. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. If you're a PRL member, you also get a 5% discount on ASR products. Just use the Precision5 coupon code at checkout on advancedsimracing.com. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and you also get a 5% discount there using the Precision5 coupon code. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Muradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Murad. Go to muradness.com, also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. MrHedge.co.uk. Last but not least, get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Threads. They are absolutely everywhere. And I get the feeling there's going to be cars everywhere when we get into lap 1, turn 1 tonight, Lorenzo. We got to get qualifying done first, though.
Yeah, we got to get to the nitty and gritty of qualifying and setting a lap over here. I don't know. It's one of those things. We know that staying ahead in Monza can be often a good thing, but it can be also a bad thing. I don't know. You know when you feel like you're in first place, but suddenly you can be P last just because of the almighty thing called rectification chicanes.
Yeah, indeed. Monza is one of those tracks where a single mistake can determine your entire race. It is a very difficult circuit. Looks simple from the air, but once you get down there and you get up to speed, especially in these GTPs, it becomes mighty. And speaking of GTP, we have a bit of time here in qualifying to talk about the new balance of performance in GTP. The drivers in the GTP class have been given an opportunity to change car if they so desire, as Brandon Wilson takes provisional pole position. And interestingly though, Brandon and Timothy, our two championship contenders, have decided to stay with the Acura. A couple of drivers further back in the field have decided to switch cars for this round.
Yeah, because apparently there will be a BOP basically what it would be every week for the Acura, right? Because it was the reigning car in official, so they wanted to say, oh, let's make the other cars relevant as well. Let's try to bring them into the fold too. And apparently some of the teams, especially the top teams, are, you know, sticking with this car, are more used to it. You know, it's a track-by-track basis, and even though the Acura on the officials after the VOP seems not to be the top car in the officials, here's a different story. Basically, most of the whole grid is still on the Acuras, even though P1 is, let's say, Cadillac, but not so much. It's actually an Acura.
Indeed, we've had a couple of drivers change to the Cadillac, and we also have Aaron Beaver deciding to go for the Porsche 963, which is a car that we haven't seen appearing in this series as of yet, at least not for quite a few rounds. So we'll see how everyone goes here with their decisions, and if drivers have not changed their car for this round, they have until Sunday to make a change if they so desire. But every driver that has changed their car for this round has to stick with it for the remainder of the season. So it's going to be a very interesting decision to make for all of them. Casey O'Brien trying to shorten the run to the start-finish line there. 1 minute 30.7. That is a little bit off what Brandon Wilson and Timothy Larson were able to set in the same car, as the checkered flag has already flown in qualifying. And it's all run and done just like that. So we have Brandon Wilson on pole in GTP. Alex Caruso, no surprise, has taken pole in LMP2 again. And Derek Heiberger back on top in the GT3 class. We're going to get an opportunity in the warm-up session to go through a couple of those pole laps and really take a tour around Monza and see how these cars tackle it. So we'll find our way through here as the drivers make their final preparations for this round. And well, Alex Caruso taking the pole position in the LMP2 class. He's with us now here. Alex, another top spot in qualifying for you. How are you feeling getting on the brakes into turn one there?
Yeah, it's always tricky in turn one. You have a ton of grip to work with. It's just making use of that grip without stepping over the line that's the tough part.
Indeed, braking incredibly important here at Monza. You are driving a prototype, so you don't have anti-lock brakes at your disposal. Are you going for a more rearward brake bias to shorten the braking zones, or are you going for stability and pushing it forward?
No, I'm actually kind of running my brake bias pretty far forward just to get enough load onto the front tires so I have the grip to make it through the second part of that chicane. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way the setup's feeling right now. It's a little loose in those conditions, but fun to lap.
Indeed, corner exits are so important here, and I think slipstream's going to be very important as well. You are in the one class on track in which everyone drives the same chassis, so it's incredibly important to get everything right around the lap. You don't have a car advantage to think of.
Yeah, very true. That's one of the things I love about the LMP2, and it's also one of the more difficult parts about it.
Well, coming into Parabolica, perhaps the quickest corner on the racetrack. Obviously, Monza are a very low downforce circuit, so are you expecting the tyres to take some time coming in with that lack of downforce?
Yeah, actually, that corner feels pretty good right now. I mean, just with the new LMP2 compared to last season, they made so many updates to the aero, it actually kind of feels like you have a lot more grip on low downforce setups. So Parabolic is not really an issue even if you're running really low downforce on these cars currently.
Well, that's the pole lap done for you, and 1 minute 36.3 is your time. Best of luck for the race, Alex, and we'll hopefully chat to you afterwards.
Thank you very much.
Alex Caruso there in the Hyperion Racing LMP2, and we're going to move very shortly to the Hyperion Racing GT3 of Derek Heiberger, who has taken pole position in the Acura. Back on top, Derek, you must be feeling good about that, especially after how Road America went.
Yeah, Road America is not my best track, so I was expecting to be a little off there, and the disconnect for my teammate and my game crash did not help either. But it's good to be back in the interview booth with you guys.
How are you feeling about lap 1, turn 1? It's obviously a big meme in sim racing that GT3 coming into lap 1, turn 1 at Monza is an absolute hellscape, but we'll see how things go this time.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing, as long as the car stays in one piece, it's fine. If we have to go deep and get a slowdown, that's not the end of the world, honestly, in a race of this length, so we'll just deal with it as it comes.
All right, well, through the Lesmos, this lower speed part of the circuit is where the prototypes are really going to make up a lot of time on you. In Parabolica as well, are you hoping that the prototypes will take a bit more care here? Because it seemed like, coming into those fast corners, it'd be very tempting to go for a move that might not stick.
They've been very respectful into Ascari, luckily, because that's going to end in an accident if they try to go too wide through there all the time. I'm actually more worried about Ascari on this track. There's just the closing speed on entry and the difference in apex speed is so great. I think that'll be kind of the spot to watch.
Yeah, wow. That's it is certainly going to be a difficult run for you in the GT3s, but Hyperion have suffered a blow in the last round. This is your opportunity to get back on it. You'll obviously be hoping that your hardware stays with you, that your PC stays with you. We wish you the best of luck, Derek, and hopefully speak to you after the race.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Derek Heiberger there, pole position in GT3, and what a lap it was from him. 1 minute 46.681, a mere 0.006 of a second quicker than his teammate Luke Wallace, who we tune into now here in the warm-up session. The number 27 has taken quite a few wins in the mid-season, so it's between himself and Derek for the GT3 championship. We're almost at the point, Lorenzo, that we might have to start talking about the championship battle there, because it is mighty close between those two.
Yeah, right now it is, what, 2 points, if I'm not mistaken, that separates them in the GT3. So if you're in Hyperion, how do you pick favorites as we're looking through the GTP grid for now?
Yes, indeed. Well, pole position belongs to Brandon Wilson, mere 6 or 7 hundredths of a second to Timothy Larson on the front row. Austin McGill staying in the Cadillac for Valhalla there, with Dave Menino keeping himself in the Cadillac. Nicholas Schwartz and Jeff Evans have remained in the Acura for this one. We're going to get to the cars that have changed here. Aiden Hill, we saw him in an Acura for most of the season. He has switched to a Cadillac for Monza. Graham Wildman starts alongside him. Miguel Rios and Nathan Ray, 9th and 10th, with Darian Roy and Matt Benson rounding out our top 12 in GTP. Then Casey O'Brien and the first of our Ferrari 499Ps. They haven't performed very well in qualifying. Mauricio Jaramillo Gallego, with Joseph Blommel and Stephen Finch joining him there. Good to see Stephen Finch in a Ferrari as well. Bradley Holly starting way down the order. Would have expected him up a bit higher, but he'll race his way forward, I'm sure, as Aaron Beaver will round out our GTP grid in the Porsche 963. In the LMP2 Classics, Alex's Caruso and Crow that round out our front row, with Ryan Long and Doug Sorrentino behind them. Sam Shreves and Justin Barrera round out the top 6. Eric Harmon and Caleb Lehman are your 4th row, with Jason Taylor and Kurt Goodson rounding out the top 10. Bergquist and Henneman 11th and 12th. That's your LMP2 field, with Matt Brewer and Ian Cabana rounding it out there, not setting times in qualifying. And then finally we get to GT3. We're going to have to be quick about this because they're already out of Ascari. Derek Heiberger and Luke Wallace on the front row. Jim Felice and Jeff Kaufhold 3rd and 4th. Costello and Ostrich on the 3rd row. SRTE and Valhalla doing very well here, with Costello and Dunn. Tony Costello on the 4th row. Schmidt and Wyckoff 9th and 10th. Eduardo Aguiar and Matthew Matura round out our top 12, with Devin Young, Doug Evans, Willie Brennan, Bryce Bombeck, Thomas Baker and Mark Kalin rounding out our top 18. And then there's Robert McGeehan in the Mustang bringing up the rear. We are already on the way through Parabolica at the front of our GTP field. And it's all up to Brandon Wilson here to see if he can get the best start possible. Wait for that symphony of GTP engines to rise above the grandstands here at one of the most historic racetracks in the world. The PRL GTP LMP2 and GT3 series is go, and already it seems like Timothy Larson is under attack. Austin McGill going for 2nd, coming into turn 1. Who's the bravest on the brakes as the LMP2 field gets started behind them? McGill does indeed take 2nd in GTP as they try to keep it as clean as they can through the first corner. Meanwhile, in LMP2, Doug Sorrentino actually getting a really good draft here off of Alex Crow, who leads into turn 1. He's going to try and take the lead here on the inside of Alex Caruso, and the two Alexes will remain side by side at the front of LMP2. Meanwhile, in GT3, Derek Heiberger gives up the lead to Luke Wallace, and there is a spin further back. It looks like that might be Joey Costello that has turned around in the Acura there at the back. Has to wait for the entire field to come by, and he can resume running. Well, that start could have been worse, Lorenzo.
At least it wasn't a repeat what happened in Road America, right? Which is always good stuff.
Indeed, lovely clean start in all 3 of our classes here. Well, for now, Hyperion Racing still lead in the GT3 class, but they are getting pressured here by Jim Feliz. And we got to keep an eye out for the Ferrari of Jeff Kaufhold as well, as it looks like we have some problems again here for Timothy Larson in GTP. He's just been passed by another Cadillac. Dave Menino going to 3rd.
Yeah, and Menino already on the charge, already down the main straight. The problem is draft over here. Like I said before, draft is key. Draft is life in Monza. So can Menino defend going to Red Villa?
Oh, Larson round the outside. Goodness me. Oh, well, he manages to get the position, but we'll have to wait and see if the Cadillac actually has better straight line speed here. That might be the reason why Menino has been pressuring him so much. The Acura was the car of choice in GTP for a very long time, but he's under a lot of pressure now coming into Variante della Roggia, the second of the chicanes here at Monza, and he catches a bit of the gravel on the way out. He stays ahead of Menino for now. Brandon Wilson still leading overall, but Austin McGill actually starting to round him up a little bit, catching a bit of slipstream as we check in on the battle in the midfield to the rear of GTP. Jeff Evans, Aiden Hill in the Acura and the Cadillac getting pressured by the Ferrari of Miguel Rios. It's going to be side by side to Ascari. Rios not in a great position there. He'll have to yield.
Yeah, and I think he nearly got a little bit squiggly coming into Ascari right in the mid portion right there and lost some time, but still within the draft. That's really important, especially in that Ferrari, which looks like to be the car of choice here in Monza. Meanwhile, battle for P6 between Kelly Lehman becoming 3 wide.
Oh, goodness me. All right, that's Justin Barrera going off there at Ascari. He tried round the outside, but it was a bit of a slide on the way in. Has he collected the barrier is the question. I'm not sure. I don't see much damage on him from that perspective, but still, that's a big blow there for Justin as the battle is continuing here. Goodness me.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised they made it 3 wide going into Ascari. Likelihood of ever that going to work nearly 0. I think Barrera got some damage on the spin, and I think he clobbered the wall. The car looked to be a little bit sideways and when coming out of the Ascari chicane.
Oh, that's Alex Crow, I believe, that has gone deep in the first turn. He's had a bit of a rough couple of laps here. He lost second place to Doug Sorrentino on lap 1, and now he falls behind Ryan Long as well. And he's going to fall back into the clutches of that battle we were just looking at. Sam Shreves, Caleb Lehman, Eric Harmon, Kurt Goodson, and Jason Taylor all together as we get another view of what happened to Joey Costello. He actually got tapped by his teammate there, I think. At least that's what I saw. But yeah, that's not ideal there for Joey. Still, he could have lost more time. Got to keep that in mind. Always a silver lining. Let's see the aerial view. Oh, okay. So, no, actually, what? Okay, so it looks like it might have been the second SRTE teammate that caught him there, as Matt Brewer suffered an issue as well on lap 1, coming out of the second Lesmo. A bit of a tap, and around he went, and oh, he got collected. And a massive pile-up. Who was the other car that was involved there? It looks like Evan Henneman, actually. So poor Henneman, he had practically nowhere to go. Very little time to react. He didn't know exactly where he was going to go.
Yeah, and basically shot the number 32 car around. We're going to look into more replays. Mauricio Gallego into turn 1.
Oh, a spin. That's very rare. Looks like the traction control wasn't working as he expected. So, and then we find Justin Barrera on the outside of Ascari here. I mean, he went in very deep and slid. I mean, he tried to correct it. He actually did avoid the barrier, so I think he's avoided damage for now.
Okay, that's good. Because from the camera angle, it looked like he toppled the wall, and when he came back, the car looked a little bit sideways, but all camera angles there. Sometimes not the commentator's friendliest thing to see, you know. Meanwhile, still better than GT3s. I think that's battling the mid pack for us to try to see what's happening in the mid straights.
Here's the fight. It looks like SRTE orange of Joey Costello trying to make up a couple of places here. Bryce Bombeck is the McLaren he's alongside. Can he pull it up? Oh, only just, but there's some contact on the way out of the corner. Bryce is not willing to let him go there in the number 29 McLaren. These guys are battling over 15th position now. Costello trying to make a recovery up through the field as the GTP leaders are already on them. There goes Brandon Wilson and Austin McGill.
And now going to...
Oh, Bombeck's off.
Yeah, I think he got shot by McGill at the entry of Del Raja, unfortunately, but gonna take the slowdown. Problem is he gonna take the penalty right in front of the drivers right there, kind of causing confusion because Tal's around.
Yeah, certainly is. Oh, and it looks like Jeff Evans has had some trouble as well. He's off the circuit, and the Ferrari of Mauricio Gallego as well. Evans ran straight into the back of Gallego there. Oh, that is not ideal. Losing his bodywork on the way through, and well, he'll have to make a tow back to the pits and hope that he can regain some kind of result from this race. Well, the traffic is already upon us here, Lorenzo, and the GTPs have a big job ahead of them here. They want to try and snatch slipstream off the GT3s as much as they can, but they've got to make their moves before they get to the turn-in point of the corner. Otherwise, it's going to be massive.
Yeah, it's going to be damaging. Oh, car out.
Oh!
2 GT3s.
Oh, who on earth was that? Very interesting there. Oh, it's one of the Porsches there. Looks like Thomas Baker, potentially. And that is the number 28 of Casey O'Brien that has lost his rear bodywork. So there's been some kind of coming together there. We'll have to wait and see on the replay what happened. So in comes Baker. And I think O'Brien, oh no, yeah, okay, so O'Brien had already lost his rear bodywork there, and Baker stuck in the middle of Parabolica. That's not an ideal place to be.
No, but fortunately didn't get into a major issue right there. So just one GT3 and one GTP getting nearly together. Fortunately, no other incidents in that curve. It's odd how the Porsche actually just lost it out on the rear. I know sometimes it gets a little bit light when you're coming into Parabolica, but in this case, traction control didn't want to help at all.
Yeah, in fast corners, the Porsche tends to, the rear end acts like a pendulum, doesn't it? It's the only car in the GT3 class that has the engine slung right over the rear axle. Well, keep our eyes peeled here on the GT3 lead. It looks like Derek Heiberger has taken it back from Luke Wallace. They both have to go wide here to allow the GTPs through the battle between Graham Wildman that has just gone through on him, and Dave Menino right in front as well, as Brandon Wilson and Austin McGill trading places coming into the first corner there. Austin McGill is right on it here. The new balance of performance seems to have really benefited the Cadillac. It's keeping up with the Acura.
Yeah, it's the second from choices. It looks like to be the second best car on official week. So with the new BOP, so that V8 has some grunt and some speed on the straights. It's just, you know, try to handle the understeer that sometimes that car throws around in some curves. That is the key point for the Cadillac.
Oh, Aaron Beaver! Oh my lord! That is a massive incident at the first chicane there. Now, Beaver, it looked like, got a bit of contact from the Ferrari behind of Joseph Blommel. And it looked like one of the SRTE Acuras having to take to the runoff area as well in a separate incident, potentially. That was massive.
And was that, I think he took out the only Porsche that we had in the GTPs.
Yeah.
The only Porsche GTP in the track. Unfortunate.
Man, this GTP lead battle is going off, isn't it? Brandon Wilson suffering a ton of pressure from Austin McGill, but McGill driving really well. You saw how he backed out of Parabolica there. He was looking for the exit, and he's gotten it. He is in the lead across the start-finish line, and he'll be able to take it coming into turn 1. The Cadillac is ahead at the turning point, but Brandon Wilson is no stranger to having to make moves. Let's see if he can stick in the slipstream and get the lead back.
They're lucky that I think Larson's not be able to catch up that much. I think Larson got so prejudiced on the traffic itself that again they have to P3 is about 3 seconds, so they can basically duke it out for 1 or 2 laps without being worried about having a third car. And it makes it more issues in the GT3s over here in turn 1.
That's the Acura that we saw going off just after Mr. Beaver went off as well. I'm not sure who that was. It was potentially Joey Costello again. Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see if he can make some kind of recovery from this. Well, either way, Valhalla Motorsports leads the way in GTP. And it looks like McGill is starting to drive away from Brandon Wilson. Good run through traffic that time. Meanwhile, check back in with the GT3 lead. Heiberger versus Wallace. Very close on points, these two. The two fastest drivers of the season thus far. But they've raced each other with respect. They play the team game really well, the guys at Hyperion, and I've noticed that from the very start of the season. They've weathered all of the dramas that this series has experienced, and they've managed to keep it clean and take the win at all but one of the rounds so far. Let's see if they can hold them off here.
Yeah, I think the only round they haven't won was Road America, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so basically they have the experience. This is one of the up and coming, teams that we've been commentating a lot in terms of, getting more experience in endurance and all the kind of stuff. So they understand the need of collaborating, knowing the car, fuel, and everything. So that's good. That for sprint races like this, they still have the maintenance mindset of keeping the car on track, still being fast, and eventually being rewarded with battles for victories in their respective categories.
Here's Mark Kalin, who has, it seems, gone back to the Ford Mustang here. He spent a bit of time in an Acura, but he's decided to go back to the big horse Ford Mustang, currently battling for 11th place in GT3. That's Willie Brennan up ahead of him, one of many Hyperion racing cars in the GT3 class. And he's looking for the exit here coming out of De La Roggia. It's very difficult to make moves in this section of the racetrack unless the driver in front of you makes a mistake. You got to try and focus on the exit of Lesmo 2 and get the slipstream into Ascari. But even then, the pass is not guaranteed. It's a very fast chicane that they're coming up to.
Yeah, and it's not big of a run as well. So it's big just because you're coming out at Lesmo and you have basically, I would say, about 1 kilometer and 1.2 kilometers to try to get into the entry of Ascari right here. Third gear, you're just gonna have to stick with that as much as you can at the exit, where you can upshift to Ford if you want to try to prevent some early jumps and maybe a light snap oversteer off the car outside of the corner. But in this case, Kalen just trying to remain calm and composed on this for Mustang, and his shirt, something else.
Oh, that's a little bit wide on the way through for Willie Brennan as the LMP2 is going to sneak through on the inside there of Alex Caruso. That is our LMP2 leader. So these guys are about to experience the LMP2 traffic for the first time here, or actually the second time, my apologies. The prototypes have already been through once, and there'll be some lessons that have been learned. and I guess benefiting everybody. The gaps are now a little bit bigger, so we'll be able to find our way through a bit more cleanly. Well, regardless, Kalen has completed the maneuver, and he now finds himself in 11th place in GT3, the best running of our 2 Ford Mustangs in the field. Back to the Acura and the McLaren at the front. Heiberger and Wallace are nailing this so far. They have been setting consistent fast lap times, and they're working together as well to try and keep Jim Feliz at bay.
Yeah, and they're managing to do that, I think, with some really good effort. Just looking at their last laps, basically half a second an average faster than Jim Feliz in P3. So both Hyperion boys, you know, sharing this draft, being very fortunate to try to not go into a battle or something of the sort, and also using the traffic to their advantage. They played them a lot in terms of success early on, and I think they got the luck of the draw, and they were able to dictate how traffic would go around them in comparison to what the other cars could do.
Yeah, for sure. This is a position that they're very familiar with, surviving the onslaught and being very smart with the prototype traffic, being assertive, sticking to their guns, and being able to get a fantastic gap over the rest of the GT3 field. Well, tell you what, Thomas Dunn, I've just noticed there in the background, he's found his way up to 4th place in the Porsche. He has gained quite a bit in this field. That is, I'm going to say, 3 positions that he's gained there. As behind them, it is all going off in the area of Mark Kalen, our leaders in GTP, finding their way through. And that is Larson that's actually gotten through on Brandon Wilson there. We completely missed how that pass was made. Well, looks like traffic might have had something to do with it. Remember, Timothy Larson is fighting with Brandon Wilson for the GTP championship. So at this midpoint of the season, he needs to finish ahead of him as much as possible. And he's doing it right there, but he's going to get squeezed a little on the inside as it's a veritable parking lot down at Della Roggia. Here's how the move was made. Coming into Parabolica, Wilson on the way through. Was he compromised? Oh, a little bit of a twitch there for Brandon Wilson. Looks like the rear end gave way.
Yeah, and I've been noticing that Wilson has been kind of like struggling a lot in terms of the rear tires coming out of the corners or mid exit of the corners while battling for position. He had that battling against Miguel, showing that again against Larson. Even made contact with LMP2 coming out of Della Roggia that we saw on the frame before we went to replay. So P3 that started all the way into the top 2 into the front row, having big difficulties this early on in the race.
Yeah, well, we've still got 41 minutes remaining and a pit stop for all 3 of our classes. The LMP2s will probably be able to make it around 40 minutes in or so before they really have to get into the lane. GTPs and GT3s, they can wait around the same as well. Not much of an opportunity for fuel saving at Monza. It's very long straights here on this circuit, and I mean, if you're coming through traffic, yeah, you could lift off, manage to save a bit of fuel that way, but it's not as easy as at a overall slower speed circuit.
Yeah, I would argue, I think, I'm trying to remember off all the calendar here in PRL, but I think this one has the highest fuel burn in terms of average per lap. And I'm trying to think if this has, if we had Spa. I don't think we had Spa. We had Spa in the Indy cars. But in here, you're gonna have the highest average fuel burn as a 3 wide coming into Ascari.
It's getting a little leery here between Larson and Wilson as the SRT green Acura has to dive out of the way there and gather it up. Oh dear, Larson and Wilson fighting very hard right now.
I'm too young to have a heart attack.
Yeah, you and me both. Oh boy. Well, a little bit more space now between Larson and Wilson, as it looks like that's Graham Wildman and Dave Menino still fighting over 4th place here. And it looks like Wildman has managed to catch up to Menino in the traffic. Let's see if we saw that the Cadillac of Austin McGill definitely had the advantage over Brandon Wilson. Let's see if Menino can keep Wildman behind. It is another Cadillac v Acura battle, but the Acura is going for it up the inside of turn 1 as we check out the... Oh, that's Aiden Hill that's gone around there in Monza, in Parabolica, sorry. That happened, I believe, just ahead of Wildman and Menino, who have now traded places there on our live pictures. That was a very nice move by Graham.
Yeah, but didn't do a lot of favors for them in the long run. If they wanted to try to catch Brendan Wilson and Larson while they were battling and getting stuck in traffic. So not the best outcome scenario for these guys for the time being. While they cleared the GT3 leaders and now chasing the LMP2 right in front. I want to say that might be the leader, but I don't think that is, even though it's a Hyperion car in front.
Yep, indeed. Heiberger and Wallace still at the front there. And now here comes the potential comeback from Menino. See how strong the slipstream is, and combine that with what seems to be a straight line speed advantage for the Cadillac. And he catches right up to Graham Wildman once again, nabs the slipstream once more as they pass by Alex Crow, and see that Wildman just completely runs out of straight line speed. I don't know if part of that is the hybrid system running out of deploy on that lap or what, but yeah, it definitely seems like Wildman might have to stick in the slipstream of Menino if he really wants to go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm just as mind-boggled as you are. I don't know if Cadillac has a better deployment system in Monza in comparison to the Acura, but now all of these guys are gonna get stuck behind the LMP2 field, so might give the chance for recharge a little bit more of additional battery power, and then potentially allow Wildman to chase once again Menino down the straight.
And they're making their way through as, oh wow, okay, side by side for the GT3 lead. Heiberger under threat from Luke Wallace, but Luke will pull in behind him there as we find our way through on the 929 machine of Matt Benson, battling with Bradley Holly. Stephen Finch right up ahead of them in the pink and white Ferrari. So another three-way battle on its way through in GTP.
Yeah, if there's one thing that there's not gonna have in terms of moments in here in Monza is dull moments, as we look what happened to Aiden Hill once again in last month too.
Oh no, Aiden Hill's having a terrible time out there, isn't he? Tried to go for the move at Lesmo too, and the rear just went on him again. And it's very hard to keep control of the rear end at Monza. It's a track where, you know, yeah, it has some really slow corners, but when there's a fast corner here, it has a very sharp entry, so you need to be careful of that rear end going.
Yeah, the braking zone just is so tricky, and it's easy for you to lock up the rear and spin the car around. But as a counterpoint, I think Aiden in that specific movement, as I'll put it back to you and I'll finish my point later.
Yes, indeed. Oh, Heiberger a little bit wide in turn 1 there, and Luke Wallace will go to the GT3 lead. Trade is complete between the Hyperion teammates at the front of the field.
Yeah, but that's a really nice move. You know, just also maintenance, and still work themselves together, bringing away even furthermore from the GT3 field. But coming back to my point, it's so easy to lock the rears and sometimes, you know, just spin the car around. But in Aiden's counterpoint right there, I think he made a very risky move on the last mode too. He kind of had committed to a dive right there, and I don't think under normal circumstances he would be able to brake and maintain that line without maybe causing a normal bumper-to-bumper contact on the exit of the corner.
Yeah, indeed. Well, keep our eyes peeled for any further developments in this GT3 lead battle. But for now, it looks like Luke Wallace has the advantage. Heiberger having a bit less luck with the prototypes, and he can't find any slipstream there. Has to allow the LMP2 through. I believe that's Ian Cabana at the very back of the LMP2 field. Of course, not last. Evan Henneman is back out there, having taken a very long ride through the pits. He spent 10 minutes in there getting the car repaired, did the number 39, and we still have 2 retirements thus far. Make that 3, I believe. Aaron Beaver and Matt Brewer in GTP and LMP2 respectively, and Matthew Wyckoff in GT3 is also recently towed back to the pits. I believe something must have happened to him. And of course, we can't forget Aiden Hill, who just towed back to the pits after that spin in the Cadillac GTP. So we haven't had everyone survive the first half of this race, but we are rapidly reaching that halfway point, and this is a roundabout where drivers are going to think about pitting. Let's see what happened to Wyckoff here. That was at Lesmo 2, and actually he got into Aiden Hill. Oh, that happened right after Hill spun. And Wyckoff, I mean, it's a blind corner on the way in. Wyckoff probably would have already committed to the exit before he knew that Aiden Hill was there. Or maybe Aiden Hill crept forward to try and get back on the racetrack. Didn't quite get the full story from that shot. Regardless, the two of them did come together, and Wyckoff would be none too happy with that.
No, not at all. And the only way for us to probably know what happened is looking at the full picture, whether it's going to be from Hill's perspective or the cockpit of the GT3, for us to probably know what has transpired on the exit of Glasgow. But that's a shocking development.
Yeah, certainly is. Wyckoff was obviously very happy with Valhalla's result at Road America last week, bookending the podium places, and he will get no such result here tonight as we keep our eyes on this battle. Porsche versus McLaren coming into the Parabolica. And it's Dave Schmidt and Devin Young. We've seen Devin have quite a few very interesting races here. He was involved in a rollicking battle at Road America last week. Now he finds himself fighting for 7th place, trying to catch as much slipstream as he can off the Porsche, as it looks like that is one of the Ferraris coming back out of the pits there. That's Mauricio Gallego that's just found his way out there, and it looks like a routine pit stop for him. So that is the first man to blink in the GTP class, is Mauricio Gallego. Dave Menino has just come into the pits as well, having recently been passed by Graham Wildman. So we're starting to see the strategy come to the fore in our top class.
Yeah, which is not over surprising at that, as we have a Porsche that is coming up slow at the exit of De La Raja right there, causing a scary moment for everybody. But expected to see basically all LMP2s and GTPs cars coming at the half-hour mark.
Yeah, that was a bit of an error for David Schmidt there. He went way too deep into the braking zone for the second chicane, and Devin Young was just like, thank you very much, mate. I'll take that, as Timothy Larson came through in the GTP as well. Well, that's going to briefly end the battles. Oh my goodness. Okay, so either that is a hardware problem, or he might be having FPS issues or something like that. Regardless, you don't see anyone overshooting a Scari like that.
Consider it this way: he shot it with style.
Yes, if there was a target there, he would have hit it, I suppose.
Yeah, he would have hit it.
Oh dear. Well, now he finds it.
Oh, he's coming to the pits. But as a counterpoint, Reese, just to breaking up your point, you could argue that he's basically trying out for the jump at the Bathurst, you know, since the 12 hours of Bathurst is coming, even though they took away the speed at the jump.
Yeah, very true. Try and keep the speed up through the gravel. Well, David Schmidt will go into the pits from that. Probably a good idea, all things considered. He's joined in the pits by Matthew Maturo and Mark Kalin in his class. And we have 2 more GTPs in the lane as well, Nathan Ray and Bradley Holly. currently 8th and 9th as they make their way out of their boxes. Meanwhile, the fight continuing on here between the Hyperion cars in the LMP2 class. Doug Sorrentino and Ryan Long here. They're getting chased down by Alex Crowe and Sam Shreves, though. It's a four-way battle for second place. And we still haven't seen any pit stops from the front of the LMP2 field. Eric Harmon and Ian Cabana have just made their way in the P2 class. As jumping out of the way there is Robert McGinn in the orange Ford Mustang. And for Sam Shreves, oh dear, that is very stressful. Coming into Lesmo 1, having to thread the needle between two GT3s. Let's see if he can try and get a run here on Alex Crowe.
Yeah, and I think if that were an endurance race, good chance the drivers wouldn't commit for that kind of corner with these mini cars and try to thread the needle and stuff. And Shreves overshoots completely the entry of the Ascari chicane and loses major time in the process. Meanwhile, Crowe in the meanwhile gained a lot of time on both Hyperion drivers up in front. Now becomes an actual threat for the top three battle.
Absolutely. This is going to be a very entertaining fight, as I've just got news of Stephen Finch. There goes Crowe into the pit lane, actually. So he's going to try and undercut these two, get ahead of all three of those Hyperion cars, try and make up some time on Alex Caruso in the lead. News on Stephen Finch. He lost the rear into Ascari just a few moments ago, and I believe is now retired from the race. Some very heavy contact. That is not the first Ferrari and GTP to have had a problem of some kind. Seems like it's a very bad day to be a Ferrari driver. Meanwhile, David Schmidt, the problems just continue for him, losing the rear coming out of Ascari, losing a bit of grip over the curb, and the front end is very heavily damaged from that.
Yeah, you could argue that basically that's a race hander, and unfortunately for David, he's already back in the pits trying to fix the damage that he has on his car.
Well, the fight between the Hyperion trio is going to get going here again as they find their way past, I believe that's Bryce Bombeck there in the McLaren, getting chased by Doug Evans in the Corvette. They are all together coming through Ascari. Now, will any of them respond to the pit stop from Alex Crowe? It's a very quick stop from Alex Crowe in terms of LMP2. 27.7 on my timing is the amount of seconds he spent in the lane. So, or amount of seconds he spent in the box, sorry. And it looks like Alex Caruso is going to be the first to respond to that. Will his teammates follow him in? No, they don't peel towards the pit lane. They're going to keep it going for a little bit longer here. So Caruso has just gone into the box. He's currently stopped there as the lead of LMP2 will go to Ryan Long for the time being. So at the very least, Hyperion can say that they have led every lap of this race so far.
And you could argue that basically the race is completely dominated by them. I hope, besides GTPs of sorts, but in LMP2s and GT3s, have you seen any other car lead besides, say, a Hyperion car? I don't think so. Maybe at one beside when Alex Crowe was leading the race, but then again, that was just a fractional margin of what Hyperion has done in the entire race.
Yeah, Alex Crowe got the win at Road America last week. That is the only time that Alex Caruso and Hyperion have not taken a win this season in LMP2. Meanwhile, our GTP leaders in the pit lane, and Austin McGill was the first one in. It's going to be a battle of the pit crews from here. Let's see who gets away first. Austin McGill away, and that's going to be good for him. Timothy Larson, though, making up bulk time in the pit lane, gained nearly 2 whole seconds on the run through the pit box there. And Brandon Wilson with the quickest pit stop of all, 25.5 seconds for Brandon Wilson. So it looks like the GTP battle is not over just yet.
Oh, not at all. That's good stuff for us. We're going to look what's going to happen. Meanwhile, Wallace and Heiberger also pitting into GT3s. Delvin Young coming in as well. And this is going to be really an interesting moment for GT3s as well, if anybody's going to try to overcut their opponents in this race with 24 minutes and 30 to go.
Yeah, interesting to note that it's a very long stop for Luke Wallace there. He was some 5.5 seconds more in the pit box versus Derek Heiberger and versus pretty much every other GT3. So as things haven't gone too great in the pits there for Luke, and he'll have lost touch with the GT3 lead there. We'll see if traffic can smile on him and he can catch up to Derek, and we'll have another battle on our hands for the GT3 victory. Meanwhile, the GTP lead, Austin McGill in the effective race lead. Matt Benson currently out in front there. Only GTP on track to have not taken a stop yet, and just like that, that statement is rendered false. Matt Benson has just come into the pit lane, so through goes McGill and Larson back into the top two. We'll see where Benson comes out. Let's see if he gets any kind of overcut over anyone else, as the battle in LMP2 is still ongoing here. Long, Sorrentino and Shreves, they haven't gone for the pits just yet, but it looks like that's going to be a call from Ryan Long. He's going to go for it. Will Sorrentino follow him in? Yes, he... Whoa, bit of a fake there from Sorrentino. Interesting stuff. Doug is going to go very long here.
I did not expect to see one car going an additional lap here, but if he has that safety that he can make it till the end of his fuel tank, you know, we'll go right ahead. Why not try something different?
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Monza strikes me as the kind of track where you want a draft buddy. You think of it sort of like an oval, but then you also have to consider that you're racing with two other classes on track, and you're going to have to compromise yourself somewhere. So maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to go solo for a lap or so. Regardless, Long and Shreves complete their stops here. Alex Caruso already ahead of them. Let's see if Alex Crow can catch up to them here. And oh yeah, it's going to be side by side with at least one of them and both of them. Momentum is with Alex Crow, and he's gotten into the top three with that undercut strategy.
And not only that, they're gonna and these two from Hibernian, they're gonna lose a lot of time with GTP and GT3s all around them. So that undercut was worked to perfection for Alex Crow right over here. Good comeback.
Yeah, very nice indeed. He was getting swamped by the Hyperion cars early on in the race, but maybe he's just broken free of them now. We'll have to wait and see. Still waiting on Doug Sorrentino to come into the pit lane. Surely he'll come in this time around, and he's staying tight out of Parabolica. Looks like he will. So that is the field cleansed in LMP2, and in fact the entire field cleansed. That is everyone having gone into the pits in this race. Let's check back in with Joey Costello, who's been on quite the recovery thus far. Remember how he spun coming through turns 1 and 2? Or he got spun at the very least, a little bit of contact. Well, it's been a long, hard road back to the top 10, but he's there now.
Yeah, he's on it. He's being able to chase, I think that's, just to confirm that, I want to say that is a duel. That is Willie Brennan that is right in front of him, and he's keeping on with that Porsche, which is really good stuff. And that Acura is gonna use everything that NSX has got to get in front. And eventually, I'm not gonna say he's gonna be here at Parabolica, but most definitely when it comes to the front straight.
Yes, around the outside going, I believe that might be Jeff Evans, potentially, making his way around there in the Acura. It looks like, yes, Jeff is back out on track. He spent a whole 16 minutes in the lane getting a tow and repairs done, did Jeff Evans, but he's getting a result. It's very important to get a result in the PRL. You know, we bring this up pretty much every broadcast as, oh, that's a little bit wide there into the gravel trap for Willie Brennan. I think Joey Costello might get it. Every position counts and every finish counts in the PRL, because the points format is so tight and points are given for just about every position in the field.
And there's not too many drop-off rounds over here, so consistency is key. You might not need to win every single race, but you gotta finish well in the standings no matter what you do. And so every effort that you gotta do to stay out in front is ball valid.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's good to see that drivers don't give up in this league. One of the biggest racing communities in the world is the PRL, and this is one of their biggest series. A massive amount of cars have turned up for every single round here. In fact, I think it was only a couple of rounds ago, if not Road America, it was the only round with under 50 entrants, and even then it was over 40. So we have a huge amount of drivers taking part in this league, and it's a lot of different clashes taking place, a lot of different personalities coming together as well. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it is awesome, but can we go into the lead, because I think McGill got a slowdown or something like that. Larson's in the lead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Austin McGill has lost the lead, but he's going to try and go for it again here on Timothy Larson. Oh, he could get boxed in by the Porsche GT3 of Thomas Dunn there. Larson defending the position. What exactly happened to Austin McGill? Well, he's going to waste no time trying to get by it. Oh, there's contact, and Timothy Larson almost losing the entire rear end of his car there. Man, you saw that McGill was really gearing it up. The acceleration of that Cadillac is immense.
Yeah, it's insane. What has that V8 is drinking? I wonder, because it's just so fast on the re-acceleration on the straights. But now there's a Hyperion LMP2 to split the field for the time being.
It's a thirsty boy, the Cadillac. Well, it looks like once again you can see it visually. Like, Larson had no traffic ahead of him in Ascari, but McGill still got a better exit out of the corner, and you'll see it again here on the exit of Parabolica. Austin McGill training his eyes on the right-hand side of your screen there. Now the middle, as Timothy Larson tries his best to get some slipstream of the cars in front of him. McGill is still faster. The Cadillac has that great straight-line speed advantage. I think it's purely down to traffic that the Acuras are able to get any kind of result here, and it's side-by-side again for the lead coming into turns 1 and 2. McGill round the outside, punching out of the corners. American V8 power in Italy, and the Cadillac is back through.
Mamma mia. Not gonna complain about that.
Oh boy, this is gonna be a tough fight. Oh, gently does it. Take a breath. Oh man. Well, McGill has a slight advantage now, and it seems like there's a break in the traffic as they made their way through on Derek Heiberger and Luke Wallace there at the front of the GT3 field. Now they just have the LMP2 of Alex Crow to contend with. Crow running very strongly in second place at the moment, and he has about 3 seconds in hand over Doug Sorrentino for second place in LMP2. Have a look at how much speed these guys are carrying through the apexes here. I mean, Larson is not making up any time in a straight line, is he? He has to get a bit closer. He's going to try and go late for the move into Parabolica, try and get ahead so he can catch some slipstream of Austin McGill, but I think he might be a bit too far behind.
I think so as well. He's not going to be able to. He's going to be able to maintain with McGill, but I don't think he's going to be able to get much closer. What's going to happen? I think he's going to have to use every corner, especially these low ones. And for McGill, he has to commit, as both of them are going to make it out alive. But of course, Larson's going to take the worst of the bunch, because, you know, that Mustang is staying right in the middle of the sequence of corners at the. With Tiflos, you can't just make things worse for the Hyperion driver.
Well then, 15 minutes remain in this middle round of the PRL GTP, LMP2 and GT3 series. And Timothy Larson, who's taken a couple of race wins so far this season and is battling for the championship lead with Brandon Wilson, finds himself not in the top spot at the moment. It's Austin McGill in the Cadillac, of which the balance of performance has truly smiled. Meanwhile, here's the second of our Cadillacs, Dave Menino, getting chased by Graham Wildman. Very good view from Wildman's perspective there of just how little power the Acura seems to have on corner exits. They really have to depend on traffic to stay in touch, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and they're gonna have to stay in touch, especially on the, like I said, slow corners. If the Cadillac cannot commit to it, they're gonna the Acura is gonna get closer, or the Ferrari or any other car, because this car has so much speed and reacceleration that is unnatural. But you can blame V8 Power America, General Motors, all the kind of stuff. Cadillac is back in F1. You can throw all the conspiracies you want. I don't know which one would be correct.
There's the punch once again coming out of the first turn, and Graham Wildman can only watch on in dismay as his Acura is not able to make up any time on Dave Menino. That's the battle for fourth at the moment. Brandon Wilson up ahead is all on his own. These guys have some 11 seconds to try and make up in 13 and a half minutes, which is not impossible, but certainly a very low chance. Well, this could be the opportunity that Wildman's looking for. Menino has to stop his run here for Sam Shreves and Ryan Long, 4th and 5th in LMP2, and he's back in touch again. Meanwhile, leads back on. It looks like the traffic has smiled on Timothy Larson, and he is trying to get as much slipstream as he can off Austin McGill. The weave is on from car 99. But Larson is wise to it, and he sticks solidly behind the Cadillac coming out of Parabolica. Can he get a move into turn one? He's close enough to get some slipstream here, but have a look at that. Massive draft break here from Austin McGill. I don't know if it's too early to really be defending like that, but, I mean, from Austin McGill's perspective, he hasn't quite been at the front of the field so far this season, so he wants to take every chance he can get.
Yeah, absolutely, and this might be as good a chance as any, because the Cadillac is not the best track. It's not the best GTP in some other tracks, of course. Where, let's just say, Long Beach, right? You don't know which car it's going to be, so you can it can be balanced for everybody. You can even see, for example, a BMW M Hybrid V8 GTP. Do we have it here at PRL? Looking at everybody, no, we don't have it, but it could be the favorite car for everybody. You never know.
Indeed. Oh, Larson just squeezing through on the inside of Ian Gabbana there. And they come up on Mark Kalin in the Mustang. Mark can only watch on as the GTPs zip by him. I mean, the closing speeds at the end of these straights is just incredible. And we still have the better part of 12 minutes remaining in this race. Larson trying desperately to keep up with Austin McGill here. I think it's solid here with the balance of performance changes. At least at Monza, the Cadillac is the car to have. But like you raised, Lorenzo, might be very different at the remaining tracks of the season. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the balance of performance works out at Long Beach, because I reckon the Acura might have a chance against the Cadillac there.
I do, because it is not the fastest track. It is very condensed with traffic, where you're gonna have to commit quite a lot. So I would say, in average, any car can have a chance. Even the Porsche 963, which for many has been considered the worst car, the worst GTP of the bunch this season so far in officials, might even have the chance, might even be the favorite car in there. So it's going to be an interesting one for us to look on next week and see how that would perform.
So Looks like a fourth tour through the pit lane for Darian Roy in GTP, and Miguel Rios is coming in a second time. Both of them suffering issues early on in the race, and I think just fueling the cars up to try and get to the end there. That's going to be far from the minds of Austin McGill and Timothy Larson here as they come up on a double GT3 pack, and that's going to be really slow there for McGill. Larson's going to try and get through here, but he gets a bit boxed in as well. Side by side, Larson to the lead. It's so difficult to tell who's actually in front from that camera angle with them so far up the other end of that straight. But I reckon McGill is going to make short work of trying to get back past Larson. Timothy, with 10 minutes to go, is now in the lead of the race, and he is going to defend like an animal.
Yeah, I currently have the cockpit camera outside of the chicane, so you can see the McGill's point of view. It's kind of like the Jaws movie. It's like the shark hunting for its prey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these cars do have shark fins, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
I remember when the shark fin first came in Formula One, and I think it was 2008 that the team started experimenting with shark fins, and now people in sports car racing have realized, hey, it's actually really good for straight line stability on the prototypes, so it's pretty much mandated now. Well, we will see.
Don't tell Peugeot about that as well.
Yeah, true. I keep forgetting about Peugeot. Such a weird car. Anyway, we'll find our way through here, and hopefully there's some stability in this battle for the lead, because they are making their way through traffic at the moment. And, there's a puff of smoke up ahead. Looks like, that's a Ferrari. One of the Ferraris. Is that Joseph Blommel, I believe, who's found his way into the gravel trap there.
And by the way, just really quickly, I know these guys are badly. Back to you.
Whoa! That's a big slide for Larson there. Ran a bit wide on the exit of Parabolica and got into the painted concrete. This is what happened to Joseph Blommel. Lost the rear by himself coming through Ascari. The other two were very lucky to escape the worst of that.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, just coming back, all this battle is going great for us viewers, but guess who joined the fray for this battle?
I was just about to say, I thought, who's that coming up behind Larson? It's none other than Brandon Wilson, and it's a three-way fight for the GTP lead with under 8 minutes to go in this race and still trying to find their way through traffic. This has turned into potentially one of the best finishes of the season. I can't wait for this.
Yeah, as both cars are trying to get them cleared around Lasmo. Now, the leader is going to get held up slightly by a GT3 car, I think from SRT Green coming out of Lasmo. Problem is, can both of these GTPs clear out the GT3 coming into Ascari?
Oh, it looks like Wilson is going to have a lot worse luck than Larson and McGill, but he is still present. He is still there. One poor run through traffic for the top two, and Wilson, our championship leader, is right back in it. This is so much fun. I love how this race has evolved. I mean, the traffic's so incredibly important here. Meanwhile, keep our eyes peeled on the battle between Dave Menino and Graham Wildman, 4th and 5th in GTP right now, and finding their way through on traffic. Wildman is a lot closer to Menino than he's been in the past. He might be close enough to get a good slipstream off and potentially go for it into turn 1. No GT traffic in front of them from what I can see. Menino goes defensive. They have the luxury of braking as late as they dare for the first turn here. Wildman on the racing line. Can he get it done? No. It's Menino who manages to defend once more. Wildman is having to work incredibly hard here.
Yeah, and I think Wildman just compromised, as I said, a little bit, that he probably didn't want to, but it still manages to keep within the draft for the time being. And, of course, not going to make the move here at De La Rancha, but keeping in touch with Menino is what's important.
Boy, oh boy, here we go. Very close coming through Lesmo 1. Graham's going to have to nail the exit from Lesmo 2 here, and maybe he's been blessed by a bit of traffic here. They'll have to side their way through this. The two Ferraris way down the order up ahead of them. Is there going to be any kind of aero disturbance here for Dave Menino? Does Graham Wildman have a chance to get back into the top 4 here after falling in and out of those positions pretty much all race? Menino getting a bit of slipstream here as it looks like, oh, Timothy Larson's coming back into the pits.
Well,
what on earth? Something's gone on here. Larson's got a black flag. I think that's the incident limit. He's hit the incident limit. It's a drive-through for Timothy Larson. So there was a mistake for him at Ascari, and I think he got an off-track, which put him over the incident limit.
There at the right-hand turn, basically, when you go for the high right-hand turn, is he gonna overcommit at the entry over here, Reese? Overshoots the braking point and then boom, off track.
Yeah. Oh man, that is such a shame for Timothy Larson, driving so well in this race, but he will not finish on the podium here as it's still on between Sam Shreves and Doug Sorrentino here for third in LMP2 side by side. Is that Joey Costello up ahead of them? I think it might be. There's the Cadillac finds its way through on them. That's not Austin McGill, I don't think. Might be his teammate further down the field of Matt Benson. But regardless, the fight's still on here as the number 69 of Doug Sorrentino takes the place and gets into the top 3. But looks like no team orders at Hyperion in LMP2. They're going to fight all the way to the end. 3.5 minutes to go.
Please don't let them. Don't go for team orders. Team orders are sad for the sport. Just let them fight.
Yeah, I agree. Love seeing teammates fight.
Yeah, it's like when we say in Brazil sometimes, the best way to solve things is 5 minutes in the straight to not lose the friendship.
Yeah, indeed. Well, the same holds true in sim racing sometimes. Of course, the first rule of racing, don't hit your teammate.
Rule number 2, refer to rule number 1.
Yep. Rule number 3, refer to rule number 2. All right. Well, for Timothy Larson, meanwhile, speaking of Hyperion, found himself back in 6th place, but he's got Dave Menino and Nathan Ray with him now, and it looks like Graham Wildman has succeeded in getting past Menino, now 3 seconds in front of him. So Menino evidently having some kind of issue there to put him far behind Graham Wildman, who now finds himself in the top 3. I mean, that's just the story of whenever Graham Wildman sees success. He just stays quiet. He just stays out of the drama, and the position ends up coming to him. Well, let's see if Menino can still hold on to a position in the top 4 here, because Nathan Ray is right on the back of him here. Now Menino has got 2 Acuras to deal with.
I wonder if Menino has to feel safe a little bit and is trying to do that.
Maybe. I'm not too sure. I mean, Menino's pit stop looked pretty reasonable as far as GTP goes.
That's weird stuff.
Well, there's probably more to the story that we're not yet privy to. We'll have to wait and see, though. Might have been a bad run through traffic. Might have been a mistake from Menino. We'll surely know at some point, but regardless, we have 1 minute and 15 to go, and Austin McGill is solidly in the lead of the GTP class, and this time by, he'll come around to take the white flag. For now, though, we stay focused on Nathan Ray as he tries to find any gap he can on Dave Menino. McLaren on the outside there. I think that's Bryce Bolbeck there. And find your way through Lesmo 2, try and punch out of the corner as best you can. And it sucks here for Nathan Ray because Menino has got the slipstream of the two Ferraris up ahead, and he's able to get even more of a straight line speed advantage, so the Acura can do practically nothing on the way down the straight, maybe catch up through the corners, but then he has to think about Larson behind him as well. White flag is out for Austin McGill. He'll find his way through to turn 1 nice and cleanly. No traffic for our leader, but plenty of action here for Timothy Larson as he goes for the dive on Nathan Ray, and it's underneath for Ray with a little bit of a slide. They make contact on the exit of the corner here. Got to be gentle. You don't want to be gaining too many more incidents, especially if you're Timothy Larson.
Yeah, but in this instance, thank God for them, it was actually a 0x contact, but late braking, near contact.
Oh, okay, there we go. Ray just catching the gravel trap at turn 2. And it looks like Larson will be free of him for now. He just has to try and find his way past Dave Menino. And we saw from the battle with Graham Wildman that Menino is very difficult to get past. We've still got half a lap to go for these drivers. And it's going to be all about the exit from Lesmo 2. Lots of speed being carried by the Acura through Lesmo 1. But then the flick and the punch, and away you go. Is there anything in it here for Timothy Larson? There's going to be plenty in it for Austin McGill, rounding the final corner. What a drive from the number 99. Austin McGill about to cross the line here to take the win in GTP, and it's a fantastic victory for a Cadillac that we haven't seen more or less on the podium throughout the majority of this season. Valhalla Motorsports is on top again, but this time it's in GTP.
Yeah, GTP running strong, the American V8 for the first time in this season, you know, showing its grunt over here with the new BOP. The question is, will it be a theme to the remainder of this championship with the new BOP? Is the Cadillac the new Acura of the bunch? We'll never know. But for now, McGill is gonna take this moment and celebrate.
Indeed he will. Brandon Wilson, meanwhile, going to extend his championship margin over Timothy Larson as coming to the line, the number 89 of Alex Caruso. He's used to finishing on top in this series, and he's going to do it once again here at Monza. Another brilliant victory from the Hyperion 89. Behind him, Derek Heiberger will make his way to the win for GT3. So Hyperion on top in LMP2 and GT3 once again. That's a fantastic result for the team, and there's Alex Crow giving Alex Caruso his congratulations on what was a fantastic performance here at Monza. Heiberger, he was helped a bit by his teammates' issues in the pit stops, but that takes nothing away from him. He was far and away one of the best out there in the GT3 class today.
Absolutely, and just makes the GT3 field much more contested between these two guys moving forward.
Absolutely. Well, Cadillac on top for, I believe, the first time this season. Austin McGill takes victory ahead of Brandon Wilson and Graham Wildman. The Graham Cam fan club's going to be happy with that one. Menino finishes in 4th place with Timothy Larson rounding out the top 5. Such a shame for him. Not the first time Larson has overcome the incident limit. He might have to clean that act up coming into these final few rounds if he wants to really challenge Brandon Wilson for the championship. Nathan Ray and Nicholas Schwartz finished 6th and 7th. Bradley Holly, a quiet race to 8th. Matt Benson and Casey O'Brien round out the top 10 in GTP. Gallego and Blommel a lap down with many issues for the likes of Darian Roy, Miguel Rios, Stephen Finch, Jeff Evans, and Aiden Hill and Aaron Beaver did not make it anywhere near the finish of the race, both with massive problems, heavy damage early on in the race. In LMP2, Alex Caruso leads an Alex 1-2. but it's not a 1-2 for Hyperion Racing. It is a 1-3, though. Alex Crow with an excellent undercut to get past Doug Sorrentino, Ryan Long, and Sam Shreves there, who round out the top 5. Justin Barrera, we saw him go for a big old flick spin into Ascari early on in the race, but he managed to recover for a very strong 6th, the lap down on the rest of the drivers in front of him. Goodson, Lehman, Taylor, and Harmon rounding out the LMP2 top 10. Behind them, it was problems for Evan Henneman and definitely Matt Brewer. Ian Cabana and Kevin Bergquist finishing 11th and 12th ahead of them there. Derek Heiberger and Luke Wallace. It's another 1-2 for Hyperion Racing in GT3, but Luke would have been hoping to be a bit closer than that. Thomas Dunn is going to finish on the podium. What a fantastic drive from the Blue Chip Racing driver. Jim Felice finishes in 4th place after starting 3rd. Adam Ostrich and Matthew Maturo round out the top 6. It's actually been a pretty good round for Blue Chip Racing. Eduardo Aguiar in the Corvette finishes a lap down, with Joey Costello, Willie Brennan, and Devin Young rounding out the top 10. Great recovery from Costello there after his turn 1 issues. Mark Kalin finishes 11th place ahead of Doug Evans, Bryce Bombeck, Jeff Kaufhold, and Robert McGeehan. Tony Costello 2 laps down, Thomas Baker 4 laps down, Matthew Wyckoff and David Schmidt with massive issues in that race. Wyckoff making contact with Aidan Hill after his crash, and David Schmidt with many dramas, particularly when it came to slowing down. Well, it's going to be our field here, and we can find our way through to our winners here today. The first driver we're going to chat to is Austin McGill, who finds himself on top in the Cadillac. Well, Austin, you were one of the drivers to stick with the Cadillac with the New Balancer Performance. Looks like that was the right decision for this track, at least.
Yeah, I since the start of the season, I mean, other than my streak of lap 1 spins, I felt pretty good in the Cadillac. So, you know, I didn't really see a reason for me to change. So I just stuck with it, and I guess it was a good choice.
Yeah, certainly was. A massive haul of points for you here at the midpoint of the season. Well, we send our congratulations to you for your victory, and hopefully there are more to come.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully this is first of many. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
As are we. Austin McGill, winner in GTP. Second place in GTP, our championship leader, Brandon Wilson. Lorenzo's got him for a little chat.
Yeah, Brendan, so second place, first time with the BOP Acura here in the championship. How'd that felt battling against, like, the almighty grunt of the Cadillac?
Well, it felt pretty good, honestly. It definitely was slower on the straight. That caddy, it was cooking on the straight, but I was keeping up with him in the corners. First half of the race, I think I picked up some rear end damage, and it made the car really unstable. Not sure if you picked that up on broadcast, but like through Parabolica, I was catching slides pretty much every lap. So if I wouldn't have had those issues at the start, I think the race would have turned out a little different. But Austin drove a fantastic race, so shout out to him.
Absolutely. And Brendan, well, I was just going to say congratulations on that P2. Can't wait to see what you're going to do at Long Beach to, you know, change things here in this season.
Yeah, hopefully survive. That's the plan for Long Beach. Not much more past that.
Oh, well, that being said, we'll see you next week, man.
Alrighty, thank you guys.
Great stuff from Brandon Wilson here today, and great stuff for Graham Wildman as well, who finds himself on the podium. 8th place start for you, Graham. The qualifying didn't go too well, but honestly, the race came to you, and I think largely due to traffic and the misfortune of others.
Yeah, I think it's a running theme this year of my poor attempts at qualifying, and kind of makes it interesting for me out there, but I gotta say, Dave put on a great race. He was holding me behind, using the traffic to the best of his abilities, and it's not quite how I wanted to get around him, but I enjoyed the fight.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we'll see if the Acura's corner advantage is going to play into your hands at Long Beach. It's going to be a chaotic round of the season. Hope to speak to you there, Graham.
Yep, hope so. It's one of the few tracks I've won at in the PRL, so hoping I can replicate it again.
All right, Graham Wildman with some history there at Long Beach. That's going to end our GTP crew. We will go to our LMP2 winner next. Lorenzo stood by with Alex Caruso back on top again.
Yeah, back on top again, Alex, one more time. And done through Monza. How's that feel? And what's the preparation going for a slow track, which is Long Beach?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to win at the Temple of Speed, obviously. Monza is kind of one of those iconic tracks that you always hope to win at. So I was happy to have the pace for it today and to just be able to take it easy with traffic for the most part and just kind of play that traffic game well. That was probably the most challenging part of the race tonight. But yeah, Long Beach is not my favorite track in the entire world, so dreading it a little bit, but I'm sure it'll be good fun.
I agree it is not the favorite out of everybody, but hopefully let's see if you're going to be back here next week interviewing with us. So, well, that being said, we'll see you next week, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, brilliant stuff again from Alex Caruso. It was also a brilliant run from Alex Crow, grabbing second place. And, I think it largely came down to that pit stop, Alex. You fell behind the Hyperion guys early on, but managed to pit a lap or two earlier than them and get the advantage through traffic there.
Yeah, I think it was the second and the third lap there. I missed the first chicane, so I lost a couple of spots each lap there. I ended up just getting caught in traffic, couldn't really get around them. Decided to a couple laps earlier, the pit would have worked. Went in, came out ahead of them, so it worked out perfectly, just as I planned. Kind of just ran away from there. Chasing down Caruso, but unfortunately I was so far back. He's always too quick for me to make up 10 seconds over half a stint.
Well, regardless, it's still another strong second place for you. And, we go from basically the Temple of Speed to the polar opposite of Long Beach next week. Hopefully things go just as well for you there, if not better.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm excited for Long Beach.
As are we. Alex Crow there. And on the podium for the first time this season is Doug Sorrentino in the Hyperion Racing 3 LMP2. Lorenzo's got him.
Yeah, absolutely. Maiden podium over here, Doug, with a few laps extra on everybody else. How was saving fuel on the Temple of Speed made so easy for you?
To be honest with you, the traffic really helped out a lot, going into the high speed chicanes, and, just having the GT3 traffic going through, just timing it all, just making sure that you don't hit anybody, obviously. And it helped out. I think I was able to save an extra lap to 2 laps, and I even had an extra lap at the end, so I could have been a bit more aggressive on that fuel saving as well.
Okay, so that's good to know. Well, we'll see you potentially next week. Let's see if you can get another podium at Long Beach.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be here next week. I'll be hanging out with you guys, eating some popcorn at the top. You know what I mean?
Well said, Doug. Well, have a good one, mate.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Lovely stuff. Doug Sorrentino getting a fantastic podium there. And finally, we go to our GT3 top 2. First off, Derek Heiberger. It was a good battle between you and Luke, Derek, early on. You managed to do the usual thing we've come to expect from you this season of getting far ahead of everyone else, but it seemed like the battle fizzled out post-pit stop.
Yeah, Luke had a little issue in the stall. I don't know exactly what happened. You'll have to ask him a little bit more on it. But when we came out of the pits, we were separated enough to where the draft didn't matter. So it was just managing pace from there.
Well, regardless, it's another victory on board for you. And you and Luke are basically locking horns in a battle for the championship here. The second half of the season beginning now and going to Long Beach next week. Are you expecting some interesting goings on when it comes to traffic there? Not much room.
It'll be chaos, but I love street tracks, so I'm really looking forward to this one.
Absolutely. We are too, Derek. Thanks very much for joining us. Congratulations.
Yep, thanks, guys.
There is Derek Heiberger. And finally, we go to Luke Wallace, second place in GT3 with Lorenzo.
Yeah, so Luke, you were basically locked in with Derek for the majority of the race until the pit stop. Tell us what happened at that pit stop that basically made you lose 5 seconds.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure. I pulled into the pits with my box checked, and then at some point it was unchecked. I think it's just one of those iRacing glitches. But yeah, so that kind of added a couple of seconds to my pit stop. But yeah.
Oh, that is not the best thing our driver want to see in the middle of the race, but hopefully he can bounce back in the championship in Long Beach.
Yeah, it's looking pretty close. So really, I'm just hoping to survive that race and hopefully survive more than Derek does. But it should be competitive as usual.
Of course. Well, that being said, Luke, well, enjoy your second place, and we'll see you next week potentially.
Thank you. See you then.
Well, there we go. That's our driver interviews complete here for this 5th round of the PRL GTP LMP2 and GT3 series. Of course, Long Beach next week, Lorenzo. Looking forward to this. It's going to be a very tough track indeed. We've got to make sure that everyone tunes in for that one because it's going to be a belter.
It's going to be a belter. If traffic was something to talk about in this race, I can't wait to see what Long Beach has in store for us.
Yeah, I can't wait either. I'm Reese Gardner, Lorenzo Bonda with me in the comms box, and Hugo Luis behind the scenes here on RaceSpotTV. We will see you next week for more PRL IMSA action at one of the most iconic street circuits in the United States. For now, though, it is Valhalla on top in GTP. Can they keep that run going? We'll see.